So, where were you born?
I was born on a farm in Hopkins County, Texas on December the 8th, 1924,
In the city of.
near the city of Sulphur Springs. The house I was born in had only a fireplace and a stove, and it was newly completed. And it was very cold, and the first few days of my life I was spent in a drawer on a dresser in front of the fireplace, I was told.
Did they tell you anything else about your birth?
Uh, Dr. Holbrook delivered me, who was a surgeon there in Sulphur Springs. And the only people present, to my knowledge, was my mother and dad and the doctor. And I was the second child born. The previous child was born in 1918 and passed away shortly after birth.
So, how did your parents choose your name?
My first name is from my dad, Joseph. Durward is a name picked by my mother, and I don't know where it came from.
What is your earliest memory?
All my earliest memory is probably some Christmas, certainly not the first one, but probably maybe possibly the second one, in which there was a paper mache Christmas ornament hanging over my bed, and I believe my dad took it down. I think because it was damaged, I think they burned it in the stove, and that's one of the earliest recollections I have.
Did your parents tell you any stories about when you were a baby or a toddler?
Yeah, I guess they told a lot of stories. They had or somebody had a Kodak camera, and there were some pictures taken when I was little. And I don't know, I was for the most part pampered. My parents were farmers, and they worked in the fields mostly, and I was, one of my earliest recollections was they had, at the time I was born, they bought a brand new 1924 Model T, and I was put on the seat, and they drove the car over into the fields where they were working. And I suppose this must have been in the spring. And so I don't have any idea what year that would have been, probably 1925 or 26. Times were good. They bought the farm and they bought the car, and they had a house built. And so I think that cotton was bringing a good price, which is the main product that we grew on the farm. They had some livestock, but the cows and hogs were used for our own consumption.
What was the name of the street you grew up on?
Route 2, Sulphur Springs.
Who were your neighbors?
Our neighbors were the Ferguson family, which was closest. There was Lewis and Ruth, and then there was 10 kids. And the two youngest ones, closest to my age, was Boyd Ralph and Glenn, Hugh Glenn. And then the next closest family was Rube McLary and Delma, and they had a little boy named Billy, who is fairly close to my age.
Billy Mack?
Yeah. So.
And is Rube Guy's brother or something?
Yeah, Rube is Guy's brother. Yeah. So.
And who were you? Where did you play? Did you play in the house, or in the yard, or in the field?
Well, we played outside and always outside, except in the wintertime.
And who were your friends? I know the Ferguson boys.
Well, I don't know. It's mostly them and Billy McLary, Boyd Ralph, Glenn, and Billy McLary. And I had a cousin named Otto Morgan, and then there was another one named Jack Lord and Wayne, and they visited occasionally.
So did you have a best friend?
Boyd Ferguson, I think.
And what was his family like? How were they similar or different?
Well, they were larger than ours, and they were entrepreneurial, and they ran milk routes and vegetable routes, and they raised fruits and vegetables, and the kids all pitched in and helped with the raising and the harvest of the stuff. It was pretty enterprising.
What was
one,
it?
one time I think they were milking like 60 or 70 cows by hand. And
So everybody else was growing cotton, but they were running dairy
yeah,
cattle.
we were only growing cotton, right? We grew some corn, and we had a corn crib and pig pen, and so that's pretty. We had what most farms had. A corn crib is it looks like a hog pen but different. It's made up of logs in a square, and the corn is, it has a floor, and the corn is thrown in there, and where the air can circulate through it and keeps it dry. And so as it's fed, Dad would reach in there and pull out the corn and then shuck it, and then remove the seed, ran through a corn sheller, and remove the seed and feed it to the cows or horses or whatever.
So it's thrown in there in its...
Just as it comes off the stalk.
Oh, okay. All right. What was the name of your elementary school?
The first school I went to was Austin Elementary School in Sulphur Springs.
It's in Stephen F. Austin.
Yeah.
And then who was your first class teacher?
Miss Dosha McDonald.
Do you remember who you sat next to?
No, I thought the cutest girl in class was Sarah Reno. Her dad was sheriff.
Oh. What did you like most about the school day?
I didn't like it very much. It was all right. I was glad to get home.
What did you like least about the school day?
No, I guess not knowing what to expect or something. The teachers always, every day was a new day, and you always worried about what the teacher would spring on you next. So I was always a little anticipatory about it, as I recall.
How did you get to school?
Well, the first few days, Mother drove me in a Model T that we had. Not the 1924 model, but it was a 1926 coupe. It was green and it was enclosed and had, I think, roll-up windows. So Mother would drive me up there and drop me off. And
Who picked?
then I think I rode the school bus home. I'm not sure.
Did you have any special routines or rituals on the way home or when you got home?
Well, usually came in, turned on the radio and listened to Don Winslow of the Navy, or the Kellogg Rangers, or Jack Armstrong, or sometimes Little Orphan Annie. And then in the summertime, there was a program called Valley of the Moon, I think was the name of it.
What kind of food did you eat for supper?
Oh, we ate cornbread, and sometimes some kind of pork when we killed hogs, and sometimes vegetables like turnip greens, and sometimes we had pie or cake. Dad worked in the coal mines when I was a kid. So, in fixing his lunch, Mother had to use certain things, like she put like a cup of syrup, ribbon canner of sorghum, which is the one we had, into a jar. And then she'd butter some bread or biscuit and put it in a lunchbox that he carried with him. And so that kind of a meal kind of was carried over to us because we ate a lot of syrup and biscuit. And biscuits and gravy and eggs and sausage and stuff.
As a child, were you well behaved or were you mischievous?
I think I was well behaved.
And how old were you when Frank was born? Frankie Delane.
My brother was born on April the 6th, 1932. And I was 7 years old.
What do you remember about him?
He was born in the wee hours of the morning, and somehow they called a doctor. And originally, when I was little, we had a telephone. It was a party line telephone. So I don't know if we still had it at the time he was born or not. But anyway, the doctor came, and so I didn't know what was going on. And Boyd Ralph had told me a couple of months before that Mother was expecting a baby, and so that's the first time I knew that where babies came from. And so
So your mother never explained it to you?
no, she kept it hidden. So anyway, he was born sometime around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and so there was some difficulty, and Dad went and got Ms. First, and Ruth First, and then Ms. McLary, and so Ms. First and Ms. McLary and the doctor and my dad were there, and so I think he may have been a blue baby. And they had trouble getting him going. So they told Dad they needed some whiskey. So I don't know if Dad had any or he had to go get some somewhere, but anyway, he got some whiskey and they made him a toddy and so they got my brother going. So he had a hard start.
How did you celebrate your birthdays? What do you remember about them?
I don't know much. I can't remember. Usually, Mother. Well, by that time we knew that about cakes and candles. So usually, I think Mother baked a 1 or 2 layer cake, and when we had candles, she put candles on.
Where'd you go to junior high and high school?
I went to junior high at, I don't know what the name of that school is. We call it North Ward, but I think it had a name, but I don't know what it was. Anyway, it was just a junior high school. But actually it also contained an elementary school. And my brother and I both went over there during the year that I was in the 7th grade. The principal was Mr. Hensley. And it was quite a different routine from elementary school, and there were some new subjects like choral club and civics for a couple that I'd never had before. So there were new courses for me. And I couldn't sing, so anyway, I didn't in the choral club. I just stood there and lip synced.
Who were your close friends in high school? Still Boyd and Glenn?
The closest friend, well, backing up a little bit. When I was in elementary school, I guess the closest friend I had was Eldon Steed. And he kind of, it was between him and Boyd Ferguson, but Eldon Steed was a different kid. So anyway, Eldon and I went through elementary school. And then he and his family, they moved to Oroville, California. About the time we were in the 4th or 5th grade, I think. Because I know he never went to junior high with me.
Wow.
But then in high school, I don't know, I had a different set of friends. Some of them were people who lived there in town, and some of them were. Of course, Boyd and I were still friends, but we took different courses. He got in the FFA, and I kind of took the standard curriculum, and the only thing I took that was extracurricular was a pre-flight aeronautics program. And of course, I started high school in 1939, and then the war started in December 1941, and so the talk around school and all was the war mostly after that. And so some of the previous graduates of high school had already gone to the military and were already in service. There was some talk about them. And some of them went down on the cruiser Houston and Battle of Midway or someplace. So, I don't know, I had some girlfriends and we wrote notes and there wasn't, there was,
Who was your first love? How old were you? And
uh,
when was your first kiss?
well, I never had a kiss till I got out of high school. And, I don't know, just girls I could run with. There was,
Who was your first love?
well, I don't know, I guess, when I was in elementary school, there was a girl named Neva Beth Hatchett that I thought was the cutest thing I ever saw. And then when we got to junior high, well, there was a convergence of all the elementary schools, and so there were a group of girls that were a lot prettier than the ones that came out of my elementary school. So there was, I think Arlene Prim was one of the prettiest ones. And Dorothy Strode. We moved in Silver Springs while I was in elementary school. She was cute. And then, I don't know. There was Beta Long, Linda Pounds, Patsy Payne.
Did you have a steady girlfriend?
No,
Did you go to the prom?
no.
What was fashionable when you were in school?
Girls wore those brown and white, what do we all call them?
Oxfords.
Oxfords and socks and pleated skirts and sweaters.
What did the boys wear? Did you have to wear a tie to school?
No, we just wore short sleeve shirts or just, they were open at the neck and khakis or whatever we had. I mean, some of the kids were from rural areas. They dressed in like farm clothes. Some of them even wore those bib overalls.
Did your parents have an opinion on how you looked or on what you wore?
Oh, I didn't like the way I looked. My mother always dressed me, and I didn't like the way she dressed me. The Depression came on in 1929 when I was 5 years old, and so when I started school in 1930 when I was 6, and actually I guess they had to pull a string to get me in school because my birthday came at the wrong time. But anyway, I started school then, and then mother started making clothes, so I didn't like the clothes she made. She wasn't very good.
So